She said it with a small laugh. You're overreacting. Not angry, not defensive, almost amused. Like my feelings were something inconvenient she had just stepped on by accident. We had been together a little over a year. Not long enough to be bored, not short enough to be casual. Long enough to build routines, long enough to have expectations. At least, I thought so. It started with something small, too small to argue about. She mentioned casually that she had gone out for drinks after work with a guy from her office. She said his name quickly like it didn't matter. They're just co-workers, she added immediately. Don't make it weird. I didn't say anything at first because I didn't want to make it weird. I just asked a simple question. How late? She rolled her eyes. See? This is what I mean. What do you mean? I asked. You always read too much into things, she said. It's just drinks. Something about that bothered me. Not the drinks, the dismissal. Over the next few weeks, the pattern repeated. Different names, same explanation. Just co-workers, just friends, just a quick drink. And every time I asked anything beyond surface level, I got the same response. You're overthinking. You're insecure. You're overreacting. Eventually, I stopped asking. Not because I was comfortable, but because I was paying attention. She started guarding her phone more. Nothing obvious, just subtle shifts, turning the screen away, replying faster than usual, smiling at messages she didn't explain. She wasn't hiding something aggressively. She was assuming she didn't have to explain anymore. One night we were lying in bed when her phone buzzed. She picked it up quickly, too quickly. I caught the name on the screen, the same guy from work. I didn't accuse her. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "You talk to him a lot," she sighed, a long, exaggerated sigh. Here we go. That was the moment something clicked for me. Not suspicion, clarity. I'm not accusing you of anything, I said calmly. I'm just noticing patterns. She turned toward me, clearly irritated now. And I'm telling you, she said, you're overreacting. She said it again, like repetition would make it true. I looked at her for a long moment, and then I asked a question she wasn't prepared for. Would you be okay if I did the same thing? She hesitated, just for a second, but that second mattered. That's different, she said finally. How? I asked. Because I trust you, she replied. I nodded slowly. And I'm telling you I need reassurance, I said. Why is that unreasonable? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she changed tactics. I can't deal with this right now, she said. You're making a big deal out of nothing. She turned away from me. Conversation over. That night, I realized something important. She wasn't asking me to trust her. She was asking me to ignore myself. And that's a very different thing. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened, kissed me goodbye, sent a normal text later, as if the conversation had been erased. But it hadn't. At least, not for me. Because once someone tells you that your boundaries are an overreaction, they've already decided whose comfort matters more. After that night, something subtle changed between us. Not in the way couples usually notice. There were no arguments, no cold shoulders, no dramatic silence. Everything looked normal. And that's what made it unsettling. She acted like the conversation never happened. Morning texts stayed the same. Her tone stayed light. She joked. She laughed. But every time I tried to revisit what we talked about, she shut it down immediately. Why are you still thinking about that? I told you it's nothing. You're creating problems where there aren't any. At first, I tried to explain myself more clearly. I chose my words carefully. I'm not accusing you, I said one evening. I'm just telling you what makes me uncomfortable. She tilted her head, studying me. Okay, she said slowly. But don't you think that discomfort is something you should work on? That sentence stuck with me because it wasn't reassurance, it was deflection. Over the next week, she started testing the line, not dramatically, incrementally. She mentioned staying out later than usual, going to events she never invited me to, making plans without telling me until the last minute. Whenever I asked about it, I got the same response. You're doing it again. Why do you need so much reassurance? This is exhausting. I noticed something else too. She never actually denied anything. She just reframed my reactions. If I asked a question, I was insecure. If I expressed discomfort, I was controlling. If I wanted clarity, I was starting drama. One night she came home much later than expected. I didn't text her, didn't call. When she walked in, she looked almost disappointed. You didn't even ask where I was, she said. I assumed you were out, I replied. With him? She asked casually. I looked at her. Does it matter? She added quickly. You trust me, right? That question wasn't about trust, it was a trap. I answered honestly. I trust what I see, I said, and I'm starting to see patterns. Her expression hardened. There you go again. She accused me of keeping score, of reading into everything, of making her feel guilty for living her life. I listened, didn't interrupt. When she finished, I said calmly, I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to understand where I fit. She laughed, not kindly. Why does everything have to be so serious with you? That's when I realized something. She wasn't interested in resolving anything. She was interested in winning the framing. A few days later, she crossed a line, not physically, socially. She posted a photo online, nothing explicit, just her, dressed up, sitting close to someone. The same coworker, no caption, no explanation. I saw it, didn't react, didn't comment, didn't bring it up. She noticed. That evening, she asked, Did you see my post? Yes, I said. And, she pressed. And nothing, I replied. That seemed to bother her more than anger ever could. You're being passive-aggressive, she said. No, I replied. I'm being observant. She sighed dramatically. This is exactly what I mean. You always twist things. I looked at her for a long moment. No, I said quietly. You just don't like being questioned. Silence. Not the comfortable kind, the sharp kind. That night, she slept with her back turned toward me. And for the first time since we started dating, I didn't feel like fixing it. Because something had shifted. I wasn't trying to convince her anymore. I was paying attention. And I was starting to understand that her biggest issue wasn't my reaction. It was my awareness. There's always a moment when doubt turns into certainty. Not because someone confesses, not because you catch them in the act, but because they stop caring whether you're comfortable at all. That moment came on a Thursday night. She told me she'd be working late. Didn't sound annoyed, didn't sound defensive, just casual. I didn't ask questions, didn't press. I had already learned that questions would be turned into accusations. So I made dinner for myself, watched something I barely paid attention to, went to bed, She didn't come home. Not that night. When I woke up the next morning, there was a message. Sorry, crashed at a friend's place, didn't want to wake you. No name, just a friend. I stared at the message for a long time, not angry, focused, because this wasn't forgetfulness. This was assumption. She came home mid-morning, relaxed, smiling, carrying coffee. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing was wrong. I stepped back. You didn't come home, I said. She sighed immediately. I told you, I stayed at a friend's. With him? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Here we go again. That phrase, that exact phrase. I didn't accuse you, I said calmly. I asked a question. And I answered it, she replied sharply. You just don't like the answer. She went on about how exhausting it was to feel interrogated, how unfair it was that she couldn't even stay out without drama, how normal her behavior was. Then she said the sentence that ended everything. I shouldn't have to explain myself this much if you really trusted me. I looked at her, and something in me settled. Trust isn't the issue, I said. Respect is. She scoffed. Oh, please. I nodded slowly. That reaction told me everything. Later that day, I found out the truth. Not from her, from someone else. A mutual acquaintance mentioned seeing her out the night before. With him, holding hands, not hiding, not embarrassed, comfortable. I didn't confront her immediately. I didn't storm in. I didn't demand explanations. I sat with the information and the clarity that came with it. That evening, she noticed something was different. You're quiet, she said. I'm listening, I replied. She frowned. To what? To what you've been showing me. She laughed nervously. Don't start. I'm not starting anything, I said calmly. I'm finishing it. Her smile vanished. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that you crossed a line, I said. And instead of owning it, you tried to make me feel crazy for noticing. She got defensive instantly. You don't know what you're talking about. I know enough, I said. She accused me of spying, of being dramatic, of blowing things out of proportion. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue details. I just said one thing. I'm done pretending this is normal. She stared at me, then said something quietly. So what? You're just going to walk away? I nodded. Yes. She laughed again, but this time it wasn't confident, it was nervous. You're seriously ending this over one night? No, I said. I'm ending it over every time you told me my feelings were the problem. That's when fear flashed across her face. Not guilt, fear. She realized something important. I wasn't negotiating. I wasn't seeking reassurance. I had already decided. She tried to backtrack, said it wasn't what it looked like, said I misunderstood. I stopped her. It doesn't matter, I said, because even if nothing happened, you showed me who you are when I asked for respect. Silence filled the room, heavy, permanent. That night she slept on the couch. Not because I asked her to, because she didn't know what else to do. And I lay in bed realizing something quietly. The hardest part wasn't letting go of her. It was letting go of the version of her I kept hoping she'd become. The morning after she slept on the couch, the apartment felt unfamiliar. Not hostile, not tense, just done. She avoided eye contact while making coffee, moved carefully like she wasn't sure what still belonged to her. I watched quietly, not angry, resolved. She was the one who broke the silence. So, what now? She asked. I didn't answer immediately. I finished what I was doing, then looked at her. Now, I said calmly, I step away. She frowned. Just like that? Yes. She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. You're really going to throw everything away? I shook my head. No, I said. I'm choosing not to lose myself. That seemed to confuse her. She tried a different approach. I think you're being dramatic, she said. This could have been fixed. I nodded. It could have, I replied. But you didn't want to fix it. You wanted me to stop noticing. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For once, there was nothing she could reframe. I packed slowly, not in anger, not to prove a point. I took what was mine, left what wasn't. She watched from the doorway the entire time. You didn't even try to fight for us? She said quietly. I looked at her. I did, I said. Every time I told you how I felt, you just told me I was overreacting. That landed, harder than anything else I'd said. She asked if we could talk later. Maybe after things cool down, she suggested. I shook my head. This isn't heat, I said. It's clarity. When I picked up my bag, her voice cracked for the first time. So that's it? I nodded. That's it. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just stood there, realizing something too late, that she had mistaken patience for weakness. A week later, she texted me, a long message, apologizing, explaining, rewriting history. I read it once, then replied with one sentence. I wish you well. She didn't respond. Months passed. I heard things through mutual friends, that she was confused, that she didn't understand how it ended so quietly, that she thought I'd come back once emotions settled. But emotions weren't the reason I left. Awareness was. Here's what I learned. When someone repeatedly tells you that your boundaries are an overreaction, they're not asking for trust. They're asking for permission. Permission to ignore you. Permission to dismiss you. Permission to keep crossing lines without consequences. Walking away calmly doesn't feel powerful in the moment. It feels empty, quiet, almost anticlimactic. But later, that quiet becomes peace. I didn't block her. I didn't expose her. I didn't need closure conversations or dramatic endings. I just removed myself from a situation where my discomfort was treated as an inconvenience, and that was enough.